Personal finance practice problem using Excel. APR to installment loans comparison. Prepare to get financially fit by practicing personal finance. Here we are in our Excel worksheet. If you have access to the Excel worksheet and would like to follow along, note that we're down here in the practice tab as opposed to the example tab. The example tab, in essence, being an answer key. Information's on the left-hand side. We're going to populate that into the blue area on the right-hand side. We're looking at a comparison of two kinds of installment loans, which are typical type of loans you might have that are going to be loans that are usually kind of over a year long, where you're going to be paying back in installments, oftentimes in monthly installments. Note that if you're looking at loans that are structured in something somewhat different, your kind of comparison, what you're trying to do oftentimes is see if you can structure those loans in a similar fashion so that you can use comparable rates and get an idea of what different type of institutions, financial institutions, might be offering. So the installment loan will be a fairly standardized structure that we can usually get a fairly idea in a comparison between different rates, and then you'll have penalties that could be involved, or fees, I should say, which could be involved, that can complicate things. And then when you see loans that are structured differently, then you can kind of use the standard structure of an installment loan possibly as a baseline, so you can do some comparisons. So in any case, we got on the left, we got the loan, $30,000. Rate is going to be 8%. It's going to be simply 2-year monthly payment loan. Fees, though, are going to be $500. Now, on the fees, oftentimes if you were to finance something like a car or something like that, and you said, okay, here's how much you need to be financed on it, and so on, you might then be adding the fees in essence to the loan, and then basically be paying interest on it. So you had to borrow the amount you needed in order to finance whatever you're financing, like a car or something like that. Then they charged you the fees on top, which of course you couldn't pay at this point in time because you needed the money to finance in the first place. So we tack that onto the loan, and then you pay it back with the interest in the loan would be a common type of scenario. Now, when that's the case, then if I was to add the fees in, then the rate's going to be something different if I was trying to get a comparable rate to other types of loans. So, for example, this second loan we'll take a look at, $30,000. We've got the 7.5 is the rate, but now the fees are $800. So the fees are higher, but the rate is lower, and that's where we have our kind of confusing scenario. Which of these two would be better? Well, we could try to get a rate that would be comparable between the two, which we're going to be calling the APR here. So we'll say, all right, to do that, let's do a payment type of calculation. So we're gonna say what the payment will be. Now, if we just have this information and you're working with a finance person, they would obviously calculate the payment on it. But we want to be able to do this basically outside of the pressure situation of a finance setting. So we'd like to be able to calculate this stuff in Excel, get an idea of comparable loans on our own time. And then when we're talking to a finance person to make the deal, we'd like to have this stuff in our head to some degree at that point. So we'll calculate the payment here. I'm going to do this a little bit faster because we've seen a few times in the past. I'm going to say negative to flip the sign instead of equals, and then PMT, the PMT payment calculation, and then the brackets. So we're going to be picking up the rate, which is going to be that 8%, but that's the yearly rate. So we're going to divide it by 12. That's another thing to be careful of if they give you a rate that's something other than, a yearly rate or something like that. But we're going to take the yearly rate here. We're going to say comma. The number of periods would be the 2 years times 12. So we're going to take the 2 times 12, 24 periods. And then we're going to say, comma, the present value is the amount of the loan, which we're going to say $30,000. But we also had to add to it that $500, which we're going to be paying the interest on, which we have to fold into the payments when we're thinking about how much the payments will be. So we're at the $1,379. Let's add a couple decimals, number group, couple decimals to that. There we have it. And then let's think about the APR. We're going to say APR monthly APR first. So I'm going to calculate this with the trusty rate formula. So we'll say equals the rate, shift 9. We're going to take the number of periods, which once again will be the 2 years times 12, or 24 periods, comma. The payment that we're going to have is the one we just calculated right up top, and then comma. And then here's where the twist is. We got the present value, which you would expect to be the $30,000 plus the 5, which would give us the same rate, the 8%. But we want to just pick up the loan amount here, the $30,000. So we're paying the payments for the loan of just the $30,000, allowing us to roll in that amount in essence to the rate calculation. Notice I didn't put a number in here, so I did that totally on purpose to show you that you have to put a negative before the payment in order to get the proper calculation. Okay, I didn't do it on purpose, but it serves the point. It serves the point anyway. So in any case, we're going to say the number, it's going to percentify that. We'll add some decimals to it, adding some decimals, so it's a monthly rate, so it's fairly small. Now let's do the yearly. So this is the APR yearly, and we'll just multiply it times 12. This equals that number times 12, 12 months in a year, making it a yearly rate. We're going to then go number group, percentify, add some decimals, so we're looking 9.6446 about. Let's do the trusty amortization table for this. That's always a good time. So I'm going to say 0, 1, 2, selecting those cells, fill handle, putting our cursor on the fill handle, dragging down 24 periods because there's 24 payments, alignment and center. We'll then say our loan balance. Let's start with the loan balance, which is going to be the 30,000 plus the 500. And then we're going to say our payments are going to be equal to what we calculated up top, the 137943. Absolute referencing that with an F4 on the keyboard, $ before the E and 1. You only need a mixed reference, but an absolute works. Tab, and then we're going to say this is going to be equal to the loan balance times the rate. We're not picking up the APR, but the normal rate here. And then I'm going to say F4 on the keyboard, making it an absolute reference, then divided by 12 because that is the yearly rate. We need a monthly amount. So we'll then subtract out, if this is the payment minus the amount that is the interest, then the reduction in the loan is going to be the 1176, and therefore the loan balance is going to be the 30,005 minus the deduction or reduction in the loan decrease. And there we have it. Let's see if we can copy that on down, selecting those 4 cells. If we copy that on down, then we should get to the bottom line number of 0. I'm going to change this to the total. Total this up equals the SUM. I'm going to sum it up. Sum it. Summing it. And that's going to be what we have there. So there we have it. Now, if you kind of check this, you can kind of check this on a calculator. So there's the total. You can calculate this on something like this, like on a website calculator. So we had the $30,000 loan. The interest we said was 8% monthly, 24 periods, and the payment frequency monthly. And we added the fees of the $500. When we calculate that out, we get to the APR of the 9.6446, right? That's what we got, isn't it? It is. It is indeed. Of course it is. And then we have the total finances of the 310638. So let's check that out, 310638. So if I was to say sum up the interest, we got that 2503, and then we had the added amount of the fees, which was the 500 right there. And so that's going to give us then the interest and fees, which would be equal to the 2606 plus the 500. So there's a 3106. So 3106 right here. And then the 30,000 total payments are the 33,106. So total payments 33,106 and so on. So you can kind of check your numbers over there. The total loan, that's right. Monthly payments 137943. Interest 2606. Interest 2606. Yep. So now let's do the comparison to the second loan, where we had the fees are a little bit greater, but the rate's a little bit less. Fees greater, rates less. Check it out. So let's first calculate the PMT, the payment, which is going to be equal to the PMT shift 9 rate, 7.5% this time, divided by 12, because that's a yearly rate. We need a monthly. Comma, number of periods is going to be 2 years times 12, because 2 years is years and we need months. Comma, present value is then going to be that 30,000 plus the $800 fees that we're going to be dealing with. That means that we're going to be paying back the 1,386. Let's add a couple decimals, number group decimals. Let's make it a positive number, double clicking on it. I like to do that by putting a negative sign before the P. Might not be the most proper way, but that's how I do it. That's how I do it. And it works. It works. So that's what I'll do. And then we're going to say that the monthly APR, we're going to pick up the trustee rate function. So we're going to say the rate shift 9 is going to be the number of periods is going to be the 2 times 12 or 24 periods because we're monthly periods, comma. The payment is going to be that amount we just calculated up top, and then comma, the present value. Here's where the twist is. Get ready to twist. We're not taking the 30,000 plus the 8, but just the 30,000 in essence, rolling that 8 into the percentage amount here. And once again, I did not add the negative sign completely on purpose, as with prior time, as my custom is. And then we'll put a negative in front of the payment there. And so let's add some percentify in it. Number group percentify, add a couple decimals. And there we have it. Let's say then we're going to pick up the yearly, PR yearly. We'll just say equals that number times 12 and make that a percent. Number group percentifying it, adding a couple decimals. So there we have it. So the 10.118. So now we can't really compare these two scenarios, but we can compare that number, right? We got the 9.6446. And this one, although it has the higher fees, it's got the lower rate, and it's at the 10.1184. So it doesn't look like paying these fees up front is justifiable, even though you got the lower rate. In other words, you want the lower number. So typically we would want the lower number and be over here, even though we have the higher rate, but having the lower fees that are going to be involved. So that's where, that number is applicable. Now, again, if you could have exceptions to the rule in certain kind of scenarios and situations, especially if it was a mortgage situation and you're not going to have the loan for the 30-year time period and so on and so forth. But that's the idea. You can have a comparable number between those items. Now let's do the amortization table. I'll do it a little bit more quickly here. 0, 1, 2. Selecting these. Let's see if we could just double click on this one. Does it copy it down? No, can't do that. Center it. And then we're going to say that the loan balance is going to be equal to the 30,000 plus the 8 over here. 30,000 plus the 8. The payment is going to be equal to the calculation we had up top. I'm going to say F4 on the keyboard because I want to copy that payment all the way down. And then we've got the interest, which is going to be equal to the 30,800 times not the APR, but the rate, the interest rate. I'm going to say F4 on the keyboard so we can copy that down and it doesn't move. Divided by, because that's the yearly rate. We need the monthly rate, so divided by 12. Tab, the decrease in the loan is going to be equal to the payment minus the amount we have in interest. Tab, and then our balance is going to be the prior balance minus the decrease in the loan balance. Then we can select those 4 cells, and I think we could just double click this time on that little square fill handle, and it fills it for us. I still scroll down and check it out. That does look like it brings it down to 0 like we wanted. This is going to be the total, and we can sum this up then, equals the SUM, summit. We're going to climb the summit of this one. Just climbing up to the summit, and we have achieved the summing it. We've achieved the summit. Home font group, home tab. And then we're going to say that this is going to be the fees, which are going to be equal to the $800. And that's going to be the, what did I call it over here? Interest and fees. Interest and fees is this plus this. I know I did that quickly. I apologize, but we've seen this a couple times. I want to just compare that then to what we have over here, where we had the rate now in our online calculator. We changed it to 7.5, so you can kind of double check it. You could say we changed this to $800. Calculate it. We then have the 10.1184 on the APR. So we got the 10.1184. Check. Roger that. That verifies. We have verification. Then we got the total finance charges, the 3263. Total finance charges, 3264, rounding difference of $1. I'm okay with that. Total payments, 33263. 33263 looks good. Muy bien. That's my Spanish. There, 30,800 monthly payments. 1385.99. Total interest 2463. 2463. 24 rounding difference. So yep, there it is. So that's, the kind of comparisons that we can use when you have these different loan structures between fees and possibly interest rates.